Chapter 34. We have battles to fight, literally and figuratively, announced Giles after lunch. So I would like Rupert, Jeremy, Simon, and Pete to go with Robert to practice sword fights next door. Isabel and Sally, we will make a start on all Ophelia's scenes, and Charmaine, Percy, and Geoffrey, please be standing by to do your scenes. I'm sorry if there is a bit of a wait, but it would be good just to run through what we are going to do with Polonius and the whole ghost scenario. Everyone else, please do not wander far from the theatre, as Gwendolen will want to do some fittings. It is going to be a very difficult show from the point of view of costumes, as many of you are doubling up in parts. I might have to employ one extra actor to play the ghost and cover. Still, there's enough to be getting on with for now, so off you go. Sally gathered her script and made her way down into the stalls to sit with Giles, but he had decided to stay on stage, as Isabel was already starting to cause concern with her nerves. I feel so vulnerable, Giles. The stage seems vast at the moment. I'm worried I will not be able to fulfill it. She was clutching her scripts tightly to herself and puffing on the inevitable fag. That's okay, darling. We have plenty of time. Sally and I will join you. Do not worry. The three of them sat in a huddle and started to work through the dialogue. It was painfully obvious, after only a few minutes, that Isabella did not have a clue what she was saying, or indeed what any of the play was about. Sally's heart sank as she envisaged days spent with her leading lady giving her instruction on Shakespeare and his dialogue. Thank God she herself had learned the part already. In the coming days, it became very apparent to everyone that Giles was right. The production was going to be incredibly complicated, with so many people doubling up as courtiers and small characters who came and went. Simon and Pete were hysterical, standing in the wardrobe with Gwendolyn and Janine, trying to fit them. Why don't we just wear different hats or wigs? Joked Simon. Why look younger? Why look yonder, Sire? Behold, there is the watchman in his pink hat. He then pulled on another hat from the pile in front of them. Nay, sir, this is not your hat. This belonged to old Yorick, methinks. Pete, by this time, had pulled on a long robe and answered in a falsetto voice. Oh, dearie me, alas, alas, alack, poor Yorick is long gone. But looketh over there, I see a ghost naked. What, is it come to this, a naked ghost? Bring with me the wardrobe mistress, that she may see the error of her ways. By this time they were all laughing so much they did not see Robert watching from the doorway. I am glad you are all so confident about your performances that you can afford to stand around making jokes. Simon and Peter, I want you on stage in 5 minutes to go through this fight scene. He turned on his heel and left the room. Oops, said Pete. Sally was in a complete panic. She had no idea how much work would be involved in setting up the dumb show with such a shortage of actors. In fact, she was forced to take some theatrical license and have ladies play men. She even had to put herself in the piece, which meant having to learn a huge speech. This did not last long, however, as she was wanted almost all the time to rehearse with Rupert. Isabel was proving a complete nightmare. She could not seem to learn the lines at all. Rupert was having trouble going through each scene, as they had to stop all the time, so he too was starting to panic and relied more and more on Sally to provide his lines. At one point, they were in the ridiculous position of Rupert and Sally rehearsing in one room and Giles and Isabel in another, so that Giles could help the girl learn the lines as she went along. Truth be known, Sally was in seventh heaven. She loved every minute of her time with Rupert. He was so giving as an actor and warm and affectionate that by the end of the first week she was truly smitten. But it was not to last. Giles called her into his office on Saturday morning and said, Sally, you are going to have to put Dora on the book with Rupert and get on with the dumb show. I need to know that there is one thing that is sorted. Sally was gutted. But I can do both, she pleaded. I can get Dora on the case, and I have been thinking that she will do my big speech anyway, as I'm tied up with Rupert and his scenes. Sally, you are not tied up at all. May I remind you that Isabel is playing Ophelia, and will shortly be taking her rightful position opposite her leading man. She has come on in leaps and bounds, and I have to say, with no disrespect to you at all, that when Rupert and she are together, the chemistry is phenomenal. Now please, can you call Dora to the stage? Sally had to hold back the tears that were threatening to spill down her cheeks. She knew Giles was right, and she was only the understudy, but it still hurt that all the hard work was dismissed in a minute. Bloody Isabel would step in, and thanks to everyone around her, holding her up and supporting her, she would come out of this with glory. She started to cry, and she started to run up the stairs to the dressing room to have a good cry. Sally, are you okay? Asked Rupert as he came down the stairs towards her. Oh God, no, this is all I need, thought Sally. Please leave me alone. Are we not going through the scene again? He went on, unaware of any problems. Yes, I think you're going to do it with Isabel. I need to get to my rehearsal for the dumb show. Sorry, wrote Rupert. I must dash. Sally tried to ease past him, but he took her arms and stopped her. What's wrong? You're crying. Here, have a tissue. He produced one like magic and gave it to her. I'm so sorry, Rupert. You shouldn't have to concern yourself with me. You have enough going on in your life. It's just all getting to me, I guess. There is so much to do and not enough time. Please don't worry, just concentrate on your role. Well, I was hoping you might have me around to your place tonight so we could consolidate everything we have worked on, and then I can introduce Isabel to the scene tomorrow. Sally sighed. She could not think of anything more perfect, but it was not to be. I think Giles wants to do that now, Rupert. But find me later if you have any problems. She pulled away and ran upstairs. Sally spent the rest of the day gathering her cast together and nailing the dumb show. She was determined to sort it out and get back to Rupert and Ophelia. A nagging voice inside her was pointing out that she was not giving her dumb show the attention it required. The whole project had been so exciting at the beginning, and her debut as a director had fired her up. Now, however, all she wanted to do was get it over with so she could return to the intimacy of the rehearsal room and Rupert. She had put Dora in her role, but soon realized that it did not work, as her sister just did not have the vocal ability to hold the speech together. She herself would have to do it. She reluctantly told Dora to go off and join Rupert and Giles. Oh my God, this is brilliant, enthused the other girl. I can't wait to work with Rupert. He's so gorgeous. Maybe Isabel will be taken off and I will be there to take over. I must make sure I know the part inside out. You will have to help me, Sally. I will do no such thing, her sister retorted angrily. I am the official understudy, and if Isabel was off, I would take over. Just remember, Dora, you are only filling in for me while I sort out the dumb show. Then I will take over again. You are just there to read the lines, thank you, so don't get any ideas above your station. Oh, sorry, mocked Dora. Talk about getting on your high horse, and she flounced off. Sally went to find Jeremy as much for moral support as for input into the dumb show. Now calm down and let's go through this slowly, he said wisely. You are short of actors, are you not? Well, I had a thought this morning while chatting to the redoubtable Peggy. She would be perfect as the player queen. Let's face it, she may be getting on in years, but her voice is very useful, and won't see the rest of her. And one won't see the rest of her if she will have the mask on. Then you have got me as the player king, so that will all work. You have Sarah and Dora, and even Robert, if needs be. You will have to be first player, and if you have to cover Isabel, then I guess I could learn the bloody speech. Sally gave her friend a grateful hug. I knew I could rely on you. Thanks so much, Jeremy. That is perfect. So can we rehearse now, do you think? Or what about I cook lunch on Sunday and you come round and we go through all the speeches and then I can put everyone else in next week as when they are free. Now, weekends are going to be a problem from now on, I'm afraid, said Jeremy, looking sheepish. I'll be seeing Eddie every weekend, so we will not be around. She looked at him. Wow, is it that serious? You have only known him a few weeks. Don't you think you should take things slowly? No, I really don't, he replied. This amazing thing has happened to me, Sally, and I'm going to run with it. We are in love, and I have found my soulmate. Nothing else matters. What about your acting? Asked Sally, carefully remembering all the late nights discussions about their career prospects. What about it? As you said, it can help me as an actor to have experience of these incredible emotions I'm going through just now. Yes, I can see that, she agreed. But won't you feel the pressure of work if you were out gating about all weekend? You were certainly in no fit state last week after your time off. I just don't want you to screw up this part, Jeremy. You have been longing for this job, so don't blow it because you are too exhausted to give it your best shot. Remember, all the agents are coming and the producers of Isabel's film and God knows who else. This is the moment you have been waiting for. We both have, she added, suddenly reminded that she too had been working towards this production and now found herself pulled in all directions. Please don't worry, Sal, I'm fine. I couldn't be happier. Now come on, let's go and find Peggy and talk to her. That night everybody seemed to have the same idea and end up in the pub. It was one of those spontaneous evenings that always goes well. The one consolation during these 2 weeks of intense activity was the fact that there was no evening show. The actors could afford a night on the tiles and still recover. though some took longer than others, as Simon liked to point out every so often. I am a delicate little flower, really, he would say. I only drink because I'm so insecure and fragile. He would then spend the rest of the night trawling the pub for an unsuspecting female to massage his ego. Dora had long ago given up on him, and was far too busy pursuing her career as an actress through foul means or fair. Sally watched her sister now flirting at the bar with Robert. Lately she had spent a good deal of time with him. Much to Sally's dismay, she waved to Dora, who came bouncing over to where Sally was sitting waiting for Jeremy. Hi, everything okay, sister dear? Is it good fun tonight? Isn't it? Must go. Robert has got the drinks in. See you later. Just be careful, warned Sally. He's very sleepy and will sell you out as soon as it will sell you out as soon as look at you. I don't know why you're so against him, replied Dora. He has been very kind to me and given me lots of good advice about theatre and directors and stuff. He's quite sexy too, in a dark, brooding kind of way. She giggled and Sally looked up sharply. Oh, Dora, please don't tell me you have slept with him. No, he's gay, silly. Well, I think he is. Maybe he swings both ways. I wouldn't say no if he asked me. Then she added, oh, don't be so stuffy, Sally. Relax. It is only a bit of fun. Haven't you slept with someone for a laugh? Sally sat there in the pub with her half a lager and lime and tried to understand what had happened to Dora to turn her into this frivolous, wayward girl. I can't believe you're saying these things, Dora. I really can't. Is no one safe from your clutches? Why would I sleep with anyone just for a laugh? I am not a prude, but I am not a tart either. You sound like a slapper. Dora laughed. Oh, come on, please. It's 1982. I am my own woman and I do what I like, when I like, with whom I like. It doesn't mean anything, and that's the way I like it. I don't want to fall in love and find myself committed to a deep relationship with all these problems. I want to be a star, Sally. There, I have said it. I want to be a huge star, and I'm going to do it. You just watch me. Sally suddenly felt very old and tired. She dismissed Dora's decoration as typical youthful bravado. Her sister was just going through a phase, but she could not help but feel hurt and alienated by Dora's behaviour. She was still miffed about Mac, but had chosen not to bring up the subject because she didn't want to make matters worse. As a part of her felt she was overreacting, Dora had meant no harm. However, another part of Sally felt betrayed by her sister, who would probably have slept with Mac without a second thought had she had the chance. The more she thought about it, the more she felt betrayed. Best to forget all about it and the hope that one day it would all be water under the bridge. But now here Dora was again, challenging Sally's integrity and career as an actress. Sally had to admit she was a little overwhelmed by her sister's ambition. What was it all about? Naked ambition. But then she remembered Jeremy's face today when he was talking about being in love and how vulnerable he had seemed. That was also a dangerous route to take. In her book, the two of them had always agreed that emotional stability was important to survive the pressures of the business, but the stability would come from friendship, which was more reliable than using precious energy on romantic involvement. Sex was important but not vital. Sally smiled wildly to herself. She should be so lucky. She had hardly been feeding her emotional or artistic soul in the last 3 months. Leaving the excitement of the first nights and going on stage to face the audience had faded under the weight of everyday life in a repertory theatre. It was mostly drudgery, if the truth be known. Where was the spark? She had often thought about Mark since their last meeting, but somehow she was still not ready to add him into the equation. It would just complicate matters. Better that she deal with the job to the best of her ability and then meet Mac with a clean slate. She had rung him and they had chatted happily about general stuff in their lives. In fact, Mac was not going to be able to visit for a few weeks anyway, as he had been commissioned to deliver 3 large sculptures for an exhibition in Italy. My first real international showcase, he said happily. I'm gutted we can't meet up yet. But believe me, when we do, we can celebrate in style. She smiled dreamily to herself at the thought of being with him. Penny for thought? Rupert broke into thought as she finished her lager and lime. Oh, just trying to work out how to fit everything in. It's a nightmare, isn't it? How did your rehearsal go with Isabel? Sally asked, curious to know the answer. Rupert made a rueful face. Well, all right, I suppose. But there is a long way to go. She is trying really hard, and she's so sweet. One can't get angry with her. He turned to look round the bar and spotted Isabel, who was surrounded by adoring males, all hanging on her every word. She looked a little the worse for wear. She should really go home to bed by the look of her, said Sally, feeling deflated. She had hoped that Rupert might suggest coming back to her flat to go through the lines as he had mentioned earlier. I think I had better be the gent, don't you? Get her home. Hopefully we can run some lines tomorrow. Sally, thank you for being such a brick. He kissed Sally on the cheek, and she got a brief whiff of his cologne, and then he was gone. She watched him scoop Isabel up and carry her in a fireman's lift out of the pub. Everyone was whooping, hollering, and cheering. Sally decided she had enough for the night and left soon afterwards. She had to admit she was exhausted. As her mother always used to say, things always look better in the morning after a good night's sleep. As she lay awake in bed that night, restless and unable to drop off, Sally tried to stop the negative thoughts from spilling over her sleepy head. Then very slowly her thoughts turned to Rupert. But what about Mac? She tried to focus on him, but it was Rupert's face that floated before her. In fact, her whole body tingled, and she felt herself falling into his arms as he lifted her up and carried her away. Chapter 35. By the end of the week, Sally was seriously pissed off. She felt completely abandoned by everyone. Giles and Robert were always having private meetings in the office, and the cast were fretting about all the costume changes and paying very little attention to the text. Jeremy was really irritating her as he gazed endlessly into space with an inane grin on his face. As soon as he could, after rehearsals, he was on the phone at the stage door to Eddie. She had hoped he would be around to support her, not just as a fellow actor, but as a friend. She was also aware that Dora had completely taken over her duties as understudy, and every time Sally visited the rehearsals, she watched with growing anger as her sister flirted with Rupert. The only consolation was that Isabel stood between Dora and the object of her desire. The actress might not have the means to absorb the text of one of Shakespeare's greatest plays, but she sure knew how to fend off female competition. Sally had hardly had a chance to talk to Rupert, as he was spending every minute of the day and possibly the night with his co-star. This was the nub of the matter. To Sally's dismay, it seemed that romance had blossomed between the two leading actors, and she was devastated by the thought. How could Rupert fall for such an obvious ploy? He had seemed so sensitive and caring when they had talked, and now here he was, blatantly indulging his carnal needs like any other bloke. The trouble was that, for all the sexual chemistry that might be going on off stage, the on-stage performance was still lackluster, and it seemed to Sally that Giles was not able to inspire the actor to do better. This was the other problem for Sally. She could see that Giles was losing his grip, and Robert also was very anxious. The two of them seemed to have lost the plot. Well, it was a bit late now. Sally decided to call Robert and ask if she could find out what was going on. She met him at the stage door one morning early and offered to make him a coffee. Thank you, that would be very welcome, he said, and followed her up to the green room. I think I may even have some chocolate biscuits squirreled away for emergency, said Sally as she put the kettle on. Is there an emergency? Asked Robert. Sally turned and caught him watching her very carefully. No, not exactly, but things do seem a little, how shall I say, a little fraught. Sally busied herself with her coffee. She did not want to overstep the mark. Robert could be very tricky, and she had no wish to jeopardize her position. Fraught? Robert rolled the word round his tongue. Yeah, fraught, yes, you could say that, I suppose. He pulled out a chair from the table in the centre of the room and sat down slowly. Suddenly he seemed frail. All the swagger and posture was gone. Sally finished making the coffee and placed a mug on the table in front of him. She fetched her own mug and the biscuits and sat down beside him. They remained in silence for a good 5 minutes. Then Robert seemed to gather himself together. He picked up the coffee, took a few sips, and then turned to Sally. So, do you have any bright ideas as to how we can ease the situation? Sally was not quite sure how genuine the question was, or whether there was a hint of sarcasm. She decided to offer the positive. Oh, I didn't mean to criticize or anything. It is just that obviously we all want the play to be a great success for Giles and the theatre, and if there's anything I can do to help, then I'm very happy to be of service. I have managed to nail my dumb show at last, though what will happen when we get on stage with that truck, God only knows. The designer had decided that a part of the scenery would be built on a moving truck, which could be wheeled on and off. This was going to be particularly dramatic in the grave digging scene, as there was a grave built into the truck part, so Hamlet could jump into it. However, the truck was also on stage during the dumb show, and in fact Sally was contemplating using it as a way to get her actors off at the end of the scene. She had in mind a final tableau which would then disappear as the truck was pulled off the stage in a blackout. However, in order for this to work, it was imperative that all actors went firmly on the correct bit of the stage, or someone might well get left behind, or worse still, disappear into the grave. Robert smiled and agreed that it would indeed be interesting to see what happens. But what exactly do you feel is not working as far as the play is concerned? Sadly, Sally knew she was on the spot. It was not her place to pass comment on the directorial skill of Giles Longfellow. She weighed her words very carefully. Oh goodness, I wouldn't dream of suggesting there is anything not working, not at all. But I have spent quite a good deal of time with Giles and Rupert in Isabel, and it has been quite frustrating at times when the text is not clear or the lines are slipping. You know what it's like, Robert. She tried to pull the ball back in his court, but he was refusing to cooperate. Yes, I understand it has not been easy, but Giles, tell me Isabel is finally making progress, and hopefully with a few runs of the play under her belt she will pull it out of the bag. Sally decided to change the subject. I gather we have a few important folks coming to the first night, she said. Even a West End producer with a view to taking the play into town. Suddenly Sally saw Robert shut down in front of her. She had gone too far. There was no way he was going to share with her a mere ASM any information like that. We will have to wait and see. Now I must get on. Thank you for the coffee, Sally, and I look forward to seeing your dumb show. He stood up and was once more in control as he left the room without a backward glance. She had been dismissed. That is all very well, she thought, but it does not change the fact that things are not right, and I'm going to make sure my actors are given the best chance there is to shine. She went in search of Jeremy, who was usually in early. Sure enough, he was up in his dressing room going through his lines. Hi, how are you? He asked as Sally stomped through the door. Not happy, she exclaimed. Jeremy, if we don't pull our fingers out, this production is going to sink without trace. What are the fight scenes like? Are you happy with what Robert has done with them? What has brought this on? Asked Jeremy. Since when have you been in charge? Oh, stop it. I'm not in charge, but I'm worried that we're not up to speed. I've just tried to get Robert to give me a clue as to what is going on, but he was very tight-lipped. Why do you think there is something going on? Replied Jeremy. Has something happened? No, not really. It is just that Giles and Robert seem to be constantly whispering in corners, and I know that there are problems with Isabel, which do not seem to be getting any better. Oh, really? I thought she was getting better. Dora seemed to think she was going to surprise us all on the night. Huh? Replied Sally, unable to hide her disapproval. What does Dora know about anything? Jeremy laughed. Oh dear, sisterly affection, eh? Are you sure it is not you who is seeing the world through very jaded glasses at the moment? What is this supposed to mean? Retorted Sally. I have been working my butt off to make this play work, and no one appears to notice or care. Dora seems to think she is now Isabel's understudy, which is ridiculous, and Giles won't let me get back to the job I started. I was helping Rupert, and it was going really well until she stopped suddenly, aware that she wanted to burst into tears. Jeremy got up and gave her a hug. Come on, Sal. Don't give up now. You are being brilliant, and once we have opened the play, it will all calm down. I know you must be upset about Rupert and Isabel, but Sally cut him off. What do you mean? Why would I be upset? Upset about what? Just because the two stars are shagging each other. It is just a shame they don't put the same energy into the performance as they do in bed. Sally knew she was being unfair, but she could not help herself. Well, Miss Thomas, I never thought would see you crack. Don't tell me you have become emotionally involved with a fellow actor. That is not how we decide it works. That is not how we decide it works. Were you not giving me hell just last week for not focusing on my performance? Oh, don't be ridiculous, Jeremy, Sally snapped. That was a completely different thing. You are mad in love with Eddie and risking everything else. What is there to compare with me? I'm not mad in love with anybody. No, but you're infatuated with Robert, and don't try and deny I'm your best friend, remember? Sally opened her mouth to protest, and then changed her mind. It was the truth. Jeremy had got it right. Everything she was feeling was down to Rupert. She felt so stupid and angry with herself for letting her feelings get the better of her. The ridiculous thing was that Rupert had no idea how she felt about him. As far as he was concerned, they were just great mates, and that was all. How could he know she was so destroyed by his affair with Isabel? How could she feel so betrayed by him? There was nothing to betray. She had created the whole thing in her head, and now it was spoiling everything. Oh, Jeremy, I feel such a prat. Fortunately, she managed to stop the tears. The last thing she wanted at this moment was to let Jeremy or anyone else know how she felt. She would deal with it in private. Come on, you cheer up. You have done a fantastic job with the dumb show, and everyone knows how much you have contributed to Isabel's performance. With any luck, she will go missing, and you will get a go. Imagine that. Jeremy kissed on the cheek and turned back to his script. Are you going away this weekend again? Asked Sally. Yes, of course. Why do you ask? Jeremy waited. Oh, nothing really, except I thought I might have a big Sunday lunch to get everyone together for the last week before we open. Bit of bonding, you know, she smiled. Sorry, got my own bonding to do. Jeremy grinned meaningfully back at Sally. Great, said Sally to herself and left the dressing room. She decided to go and visit the girls in the wardrobe for a cheer up and gossip. She found Gwendolyn sewing beads into a gorgeous silk gown. Is that for the leading lady? Inquired Sally as she came in the room. Yes, and she's thrilled about it, said Gwendolyn, looking up at Sally. I just hope she stays thrilled enough not to lose any more weight, because I have to keep tacking it in. Blimey, if she lost any more weight, she would disappear when she turned sideways, snorted Janine, who was ironing in the corner. Mind you, I joke, but bloody hell, girls, she's something else, isn't she? You know, she keeps making herself sick. Practically every time I go in her dressing room, she's pooping in the toilet. I reckon she has a problem. What sort of problem? Asked Sally. You know what I mean? An eating disorder type of thing. Anorexia, I think they call it. I was reading about it the other day in a magazine. Lots of film stars have it because they have to be so thin for the film. They either don't eat at all or eat and then make themselves sick afterwards. Some people have even died. It gets so bad. Janine was warming to her subject. Mind you, she probably gets sick from all the dope she smokes as well. What? Janine looked up from her ironing to see Gwendolyn and Sally staring at her open mouth. Oh, don't tell me you didn't know. She's always rolling joints and stashing them in her makeup bag for later. Pete reckons that's why she can't learn the lines. He says she's basically stoned all the time. I'm surprised Giles hasn't noticed, or Rupert for that matter. Let's face it, he is such a lovely guy and so obviously not into drugs. Yet he spends all his time with her. Did I tell you I caught them in the dressing room the other day? God, it was so embarrassing. I thought you said she spent all her time with her head down the toilet, Sally said rather sullenly. What a busy girl she is. Janine laughed. Go on, Sally. Tell it how it is. Sorry, but it does make me cross, Janine. People like her always seem to get away with murder, don't they? Not much talent, but all the luck in the world, and mugs like us prepared to cover for her. Anyway, enough of all that. I came here to be cheered up and get the gossip. How is Sarah these days? For some reason, Sally had suddenly thought about the girl and her dealings with Percy. Peggy seemed happier of late, so maybe things had gone back to normal. Funny you should mention her, said Janine. She is not my favourite person, and she owes me money as it happens, but she's very quiet these days. I think something has happened. She owes me money as well, joined in Gwendolyn, and I believe she has had money, money off most of the boys. She seems to have eased off Percy, I noticed. I know Peggy was worried about all that, said Sally. Do you think Sarah was actually sleeping with him? Yes, I do. She's a right little madam, blasted Janine. And I tell you what I think, that she tried to get money out of Percy because he was in a right state a while back and asked Pete about loans and such from the bank. And when Pete asked him why he needed the money, Percy got all tearful and admitted he was a bad boy sometimes and girls took advantage. But he wouldn't actually own up to it being Sarah. But let's face it, we all knew she has been all over him like a rash. Even Peggy knows the score. I reckon Peggy has fronted her up and told her to get lost, and that is exactly what she has done. Can't blackmail Percy if the wifey knows all about it, can she? So now she's keeping her head down looking for the next victim, I expect. I always suspect it was Sarah who told Geoffrey's wife he was having an affair. Gwendolyn let this statement hang in the air, and all three girls digested the information. Sally found herself thinking what a sad world it was when people spent so much time and energy being horrible to each other. The silence was broken by the arrival of Dora. Hi guys, just been told I have to try on Isabel's costume in case I have to go on. How cool is that? She stopped as she caught her sister's glare across the room. You have to go on? Dora, how many times do I have to tell you I am Isabel's understudy? Don't blame me, sis. Giles sent me here. Talk to him. Dora crossed the adrenaline and started to undress. Don't worry. Oh, don't worry, I will, Sally hissed and marched out of the room. Thanks for listening.